Time check for you, 12 hours 5. My name is Amrita Koshal, and it is now time for your main newscast in detail. JAGDEO planning to remove key 22-member accountability and oversight body for oil money. To ensure the Natural Resources Fund faces no encumbrance to its operationalization, Vice President Barrett JAGDEO said the 22-member Public Accountability and Oversight Committee will not be featured in the amended legislation, which will be tabled in the National Assembly next week Thursday. JAGDEO said the current legislation, which was passed by former Finance Minister Winston Jordan, is almost impossible to operationalize, and it is almost impossible to get anything done with 22 different organizations having oversight responsibility. He said the government will, therefore, make 4 major sets of changes in the NRF legislation, with the first being the removal of the Oversight Committee consisting of 22 organizations. The Vice President is of the firm conviction that such an arrangement would hinder the smooth running of the fund. And we now tell you, oil sector will be plagued with difficulties until death if original sin is not fixed, according to TIGI President. Head of Transparency Institute, Guyana Inc., Mr. Fred Collins, holds the view that good governance of the oil sector will continue to be undermined if the original sin or root case is not fixed by the leaders of the day. Collins said the original sin refers to the 1999 award of 600 blocks as part of the Stabroek Block license to ExxonMobil when the law only allows for 60. We had previously reported that former Minister of Natural Resources, Raphael Trotman, had a golden opportunity to correct this illegality, but chose not to, citing various reasons such as the law allowing for such awards to be done in the event of special circumstances. But Collins was keen to note that he does not agree with this line of argument, while noting that the country will pay the price for failing to correct the state of affairs that reflects total disregard for the law. He said this original sin has resulted in a domino effect of dire circumstances that now plague the sector and would continue until the end of the industry if not addressed. In other stories, GPL this year spent some $3 billion for its annual operations and maintenance costs, the bulk of which was paid over to private partners of the utility company who were engaged in the management of some of its electricity generation capacity. This was disclosed by the company's CEO, Bharat Dindayal, who explained a significant part of the maintenance cost is actually paid for the management of the generation facilities at Kingston, Georgetown, Garden of Eden on the east bank of Demerara, and the Vredenhoop location, west bank Demerara. The Kingston facility is managed by Power Producers and Distributors Inc., while the GOE plant is managed by Wärtsilä. Exxon claims $30 billion was pumped into Liza 1, 2, Payara, and the Yellowtail so far. Esso claims to have pumped over $30 billion into its operations in the Stabroek Block with regard to the development of the Liza 1, 2, Payara, and the Yellowtail projects thus far. The revelation was made by ExxonMobil Guyana President Alastair Routledge, who revealed that he believes Guyana needs to invest in its people through education and training in order to build capacity to not just service the local demands, but also to compete internationally. As such, he pointed to the opportunities available in the development of its Stabroek Block projects so far. According to Routledge, with the Liza 1 field producing since December 2019, the second FPSO vessel will come on stream in the new year, tripling production from Guyana. In other headlines, we now tell you, Barrett claims slick definitely not oil, despite no verification, says Exxon. CGX did not report any spills. Minister of Natural Resources Vikram Bharat is confident that the oily substance floating on the surface of the Atlantic Ocean is not from an oil spill, even though the EPA has not even collected samples to run an analysis. The minister reasoned that the substance could not have been oil since its operators, ExxonMobil in the Stabroek block and CGX Energy Inc. operating in the Quarantine block, have no such reports. Furthermore, he noted that the substance is suspected to have leaked from a vessel. Fishermen were the first to report the incident, and even though a source at the CDC had related that the matter was being probed by the National Oil Spill Committee, no information on the substance has been forthcoming. In fact, EPA Director Kamaraj Parsram said that the agency also is not in receipt of any samples. One dead after boat on trial run capsizes. A 23-year-old man, Michael Safi of Grove, Maikoni, reportedly drowned on Tuesday, December 7th after a boat on trial run reportedly capsized in the Maikoni River, East Coast, Demerara. According to police, the boat he was captaining at the time capsized around 17:45 hours on that day. The investigators reported that it was a long metal boat powered by a 48-horsepower outboard engine. Detectives learned that some repairs were conducted on the vessel, and Safi and his boss, 53-year-old Vishan Haripasad, the owner of the boat, decided to take it on a trial run. About 1 mile away from the Maikoni Stelling, the metal vessel reportedly spun suddenly and capsized, throwing Safi and his boss overboard. $17 million U.S. loan to rehabilitate 3 regional hospitals. The Ministry of Health is expected to have more medical services at 3 regional hospitals in the country. This will be financed by a $17.5 million U.S. loan from the government of India and will be expended to advance and modernize the 3 medical facilities. The 3 hospitals are the Sadi Hospital in Region 2, the West Demerara Hospital in Region 3, and the Bartika Hospital in Region 7. On Wednesday, Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony said that the designs for the upgrades at the 3 regional hospitals should be completed by early 2022. Meanwhile, Minister Anthony explained that once those designs are complete, the projects would go out to tender. Thereafter, the works are expected to begin. He further added that the upgrades to these hospitals would include establishing outpatient facilities, accident and emergencies sections, outpatient clinics, laboratories, imaging facilities, inpatient wards, and operating theaters. We now tell you that Vishnu Prasad is the new Chief Election Officer. With the endorsement of the chairperson of GCOM, Claudette Singh, Vishnu Prasad was yesterday elected as the country's new Chief Elections Officer and Commissioner of Registration. According to GCOM, the newly elected CEO comes with almost 2 decades of experience working at the entity. Prasad once served as the Public Relations Officer and as a Deputy CEO for 3 years under former Chairman Dr. Steve Surajbali. He also acted as CEO on several occasions. Meanwhile, the opposition nominated GCOM commissioners Vincent Alexander, Charles Corbin, and Desmond Trotman have disassociated themselves from the decision to elect Prasad as the country's new CEO. According to them, legal actions will be taken soon to challenge the appointment of Prasad as the new CEO. And we now tell you that Guyana's history of granting oil licenses and contracts marred by corruption, according to TIGI President. The history of petroleum licensing and contracting transactions in Guyana presents extraordinary exposure to corruption. This is according to the Transparency Institute Guyana Inc., along with other civil society members. The body explained that the theft of resources of astronomical value can occur in as simple a way as the deliberate failure to enforce a law where such a law exists, or where it is deliberately misinterpreted in favor of private financial interests. It was keen to note that corruption not only undermines development, but also creates a society where economic and social growth is trampled by greed. Corruption also reinforces economic inequality, as the underprivileged in society are not given a fair chance to access opportunities and resources. In this regard, the members of the group warned that the only protection against such corruption is for the society to remain vigilant. And now time for your COVID-19 update. 2 unvaccinated men from Region 6, a 45-year-old and an 84-year-old who contracted COVID-19 have died. As a result of this, Guyana's COVID-19 death toll has moved to 1,016. Meanwhile, 51 new cases were recorded, taking the total number of confirmed cases to 38,453. 14 patients are admitted into the ICU, 46 in institutional isolation, 743 in home isolation, and 4 in institutional quarantine. To date, a total of 36,634 persons have recovered from the virus. We now turn your attention to page 7 of the Kaieteur News, dedicated to being blunt. Chris Rams says that the LISA 1 and LISA 2 audit findings should be made public. We agree, but take this further. Every aspect of Guyana's oil business should be made public. This is how untrustworthy PPP leaders are to Guyanese. Anything they do should be audited and made public. This is how scampish our leaders are. Nobody trusts them, not even their own supporters. Time check for you, 12 hours 17. My name is Amrita Koshal, and this was your main newscast in detail.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today